Hello and welcome to Joy News Today with me, Daniel Dazim. Coming up in the bulletin, governments to complete construction of 11 health facilities across the country before the end of 2020 as President cuts sword for commencement of a 400-bed maternity and gynaecology block at the Cultivation Teaching Hospital. Leading teacher unions in Ghana advocates reopening of schools across the country for the next academic year in September once facilities are provided to ensure COVID-19 protocols are adhered to by students. Former President and NDC flag bearer John Dramani Mahama asks for clemency for pastors jailed for flouting COVID-19 protocols during the lockdown. In business, minority in Parliament demands government clarifies funding for Consolidated Bank Ghana. We have all this, including the latest in sport highlights. Stay with us. Glad you could join us. Now, President Akuapem just finished cutting the sword at a 400-bed maternity and gynaecology facility at the Cultivation Teaching Hospital. Speaking at an ongoing ceremony to break grounds for the project, President Akuapem said government will complete the construction of 11 health facilities across the country before the end of 2020. He says the projects are part of government's efforts to bridge the gaps in healthcare service delivery in Ghana.
It is good to be back here again at the Cultivation Teaching Hospital, and I'm happy to cut the sword for the construction and equipment of two major facilities, namely a 12-story, 400-bed maternity and gynecological center and a 2-story, 101-bed urology and nephrology center. The commencement of work on these two projects, in addition to the reactivation of construction work on the abandoned 750-bed maternity and children's block at the Confwanoche Teaching Hospital in Kumasi, will significantly reduce maternal and neonatal mortality rates in our country. They are also further testimony to the commitment of government to improve our country's health care infrastructure and move us steadily towards the goal of achieving universal health coverage for all. Cultivation, over its 97 years of existence, has served as a center of excellence in teaching, research, and the provision of high-level specialized healthcare services to Ghanaians and to persons from beyond our shores. This hospital, which is the third largest in sub-Saharan Africa and the leading referral center in the country, is challenged with inadequate infrastructure, equipment, and cutting-edge technology to enable it respond adequately to the ever-increasing demand for its specialist services. Indeed, on my recent visit to Cultivation, when I commissioned the intensive care unit of the National Reconstructive Plastic Surgery and Burn Center for the hospital, I was struck by the poor state of the maternity block. I promise to help remedy the situation, as the current state of the building is not fit for purpose.
Away from that story, Deputy Minister for Information Pius Enam Hajide has assured any appeals for clemency for members of the clergy prosecuted for flouting COVID-19 rules during the 3-week lockdown will be considered on merit if formal petitions are made to the appropriate agencies for their consideration. reacting to calls by former Presidents John Mahama for President Akuapem to grant clemency to a pastor and his 2 followers jailed for 4 years for flouting the ban on public gatherings. Mr. Hajide said such calls are well intended but should also be backed by a dialogue.
I am not advised that the office of His Excellency the President has been seized with any appeal from any quarters, that is from the office of the former president himself or from members of the clergy to whom the former president was speaking. I can assure you that as and when any such appeal is received by the president's office, due consideration shall be given to that appeal.
Mr. Hajide, are you saying that the appeal that he's made now in the open is not enough? You're expecting something written, official?
It is my understanding that he rather appealed to the religious leaders to make the appeal. That's my understanding of what he said internally. And I am saying that I am not advised that as of this moment, the religious leaders themselves have made any such appeal to His Excellency the President. When that is done, like the President does all the time, he will consider and he will communicate his decision to the persons who may have made the appeal.
You're live on Joy News today, and this is your election headquarters. Now, pollster Ben Effah has agreed with the Electoral Commission's assertion that the previous electoral roll was bloated. The EC says it was successful in the registration of 16.6 million Ghanaians, and this affirms the need for a new register. It argues that had the old register been used, there would be more Ghanaians on the electoral roll than estimated by the Statistical Service. Speaking on News Desk with Bernice Abubedu Lanza on the Joy News channel, Mr. Effah explained why he agrees with the EC.
The chart, Greater Accra has the highest increase between 2016 and 2020. That is about 402,000 more. The 3 northern regions, that is formerly Northern Region 2016, the only 10 regions, 165,000, and Central 142,000. And I must say that the figure for this proves that the 2016 register had a problem. Because 2016, there was 16 million. On the average, between 900,000 and 1 million people get on the voter register every year. So if they had added to the 2016, we'll be having about 18.5, 19 million. And for a population of about estimate to be 31 million, would have been too much. So, and like the EC themselves have said, I don't think that we'll be having such a massive voter registration again because, one, if you look at those who use instruments to register, 60% use Ghana card.
Yes.
So I presume that by 2024, we should have about 90% having Ghana card. And with the way this has been done, every year when the voters register is opened, so the country is likely to save so much money having such a massive voter registration.
Now, Mr. Effah, if I get you right, you agree with the EC then that the previous register was bloated?
Yes, I agree.
Interesting. And should we expect anything from you in the coming days with regards to who could possibly win the elections and all, as you've always done during election years?
Yes, last weekend we sent our guys out to Greater Accra region and Central, and by the end of October we'll have an idea. But there could be surprises because as at end of July, 7.7%, nearly 1 million voters were just 18 years and 19. And if you consider that in 2008, the NDC won the runoff with 40,000, nearly 1 million voters can make a difference.
Now, hundreds of NPP members in the Akuapem North constituency are challenging the parliamentary candidature of Nana Madokia Isiama following what they claim to be unfair disqualification of lawyer Philip Addison and one Dr. Chumesia J. As political parties prepare for the 2020 polls, some aggrieved members have been rejecting the incumbent MP, who doubles as the Deputy Minister for Information as the sole candidate. Now, at a news conference today at Mampong, Akuapem, some concerned youths of the MPP and key stakeholders in the constituency vowed to ditch the party in the general elections. Christian Atasare is a spokesperson for the aggrieved party members.
Key stakeholders in the Akuapem North constituency, we are thereby vowed to help maintain peace in the constituency by urging the MPP to bring calm the fight over the recent unopposed candidacy issue in the Akuapem among its delegates. The MPP, as a political party, required by the law to conduct its affairs in openness, transparency, and in conformity with the democratic principle, without bias and favor in the selection of its candidates. We have been informed that constitutionally, the delegates for the extraordinary conference to elect the parliamentary candidate was not at any point constituted. Yes, indeed, chiefs don't do politics, but since we all want human development, the constituency development band, we appreciate in uniting the people of Akuapem and restore the total respect of the Akuapem states. We therefore sincerely hope and pray that the MPP will look into the matters raised by the delegates so as to prevent the skirt and blouse. Vote in 2020 election we have in Akuapem. We need the seats to further support His Excellency, the President Akufo-Addo.
Us on the line, he's our correspondent in the Eastern region. Kofi, help us understand, these persons who have organized the news conference, is there any particular candidates that they support?
Well, what I know is that since the primaries ended, they have declared their support for Philip Addison. We all know Philip Addison as the lawyer, one-time lawyer for President Akufo-Addo in the election petition in 2012. And he has been showing interest in contesting the Akuapem North seat, but the party decided that the current MP, Nana Amadokwa, goes unopposed. So he was disqualified, and as of now, the party only knows Nana Amadokwa as the parliamentary candidate for Akuapem North. Thank you, Kofi. Now, this happened a while ago, obviously, this party primary. Do we know why these persons are now holding a news conference? Well, they have been protesting this decision for some time now, but they decided to renew that protest today. So they are calling on the party executive, the president, to intervene in this issue and ensure that they give all interested people the opportunity to contest in this on the tickets of the party, so that it wouldn't be the sole candidature of Nana Amadokwa. Now, you describe them as party delegates. Are there any constituency executives in there? Well, we did not see any constituency executive among the people, but what they say, they are delegates because some of them are polling station executives. Now, finally, have we gotten any response from the Honorable MP or the party in the constituency? Yes, we've tried speaking with him. She's agreed to speak with us, so we're waiting for that to happen before we can say anything. Kofi Siao, thank you very much for joining us with those updates. Thank you. So live on Joy News today with me, Daniel Dazi. There's a lot more coming up here in the bulletin, including the latest on that explosion on the beach at La. Now, hundreds of MPP members in the Akuapem North constituency, just what we told you about, are protesting the candidature of Nana Dokia Isiama. Now, 4 children escaped death when a device they were playing with near the seashore turned out to be a bomb. The children thought the device was a plaything, but it went off suddenly and wounded them severely. This happened at La. There's more in the following report.
The loud sound was heard by everyone in and around the community. The time was 11 a.m., 4th August 2020.
I hear the team, as the team blast, as a explosion. So who just shot the gun like that? Where my master told you it's not a gun, but here the carpenter is knocking something for inside. What is not?
Each person had their interpretation of what it meant.
The only thing I heard was like, boom! I was like, Lord of His mercy, what is happening?
Kofi Amwako, a mason returning from Usu, rushed to the scene.
It was bad. There was blood oozing from different body parts of these kids. The 7-year-old was the worst hit. Even in the hospital, they had to remove a lot of pellets from his back.
Uko Adams is the father of all 4 children, 1 boy, 4 girls, with ages between 5 and 12. The pig farmer is grateful to God that all 4 children survived the blast.
They left the grenade while they saw smoke rising from it. Luckily, they threw it far away from them. If it got any inch closer, it would have killed them.
Residents are scared of what the explosion could mean for the community.
I have 2 wonderful kids. We love the ocean. We love to visit the ocean. I love to go there and do my medication and pray. What if I don't know and I step on something? All I want to say is, please, to whoever is listening to me, please, to the authorities, please, scan around and find out what is really happening in Salabadi.
My concern, they should go inside the matter. I get to know the people who have a train over there, how they manage before dodge the bomb over there. After that, we get to know that they get another bomb too over there. So still, we are afraid about the area.
They have lots of questions for the authorities. Witnesses say the military visited La last week and discovered even more grenades.
They find one of the bomb over there and the other one too. So the bomb.
The bomb here.
Yeah.
Can you show us which side?
This place, and where the bushes, and they find one at where the gutter is.
So all in all, how many bombs were those?
There was 5 over here and 1 over there, and there was 1, 2 over here, so 7.
They said they come and find another bomb here.
How many military men did you notice?
Actually, the counts are coming. We can't count them.
There were several.
There are several. We can't
if you are giving an estimate, how many will you say? If you have to estimate, say they are about how much?
Because we are there, we are working.
The children's injuries mean more hospital bills for a father who is now struggling to put food on the table.
I must be the general public to help me out. I'm truly in a sad situation. He now has medical issues with his leg.
And 1 year can see say.
Oh, Sika must say, because any papa could pay my side 12 million. When Sika must say 12 million.
In reaction to this, the police is asking the general public to be wary of strange objects and inform the police immediately they are sighted. Head of the Public Affairs Unit of the Accra Regional Police Command, DSP Effah spoke to my colleague Bernice Abube-Dulanza on News Desk.
Explosive materials or anything that can cause explosion, whether improvised explosive devices, whatever it is, it will be very difficult for anybody to determine just by looking at it and saying that this is an explosive device. That is why we continue to say, mostly if the item is strange, you do not know what it is not yours, we advise that we do not touch them. Sometimes people may not touch, but we see that people have developed the habit over the years by walking and even kicking items they come by. And these can also be very dangerous and harmful to all of us. So if we find any item, it could be anything at all. It could come in any other way or form. Whatever it is, when the thing looks strange, you do not know what it is, we will advise. The general caution is do not touch, do not get closer. If possible, if you can even go further from the object, I think that is advisable. And immediately, rather, draw the attention of the people. I think this conversation was very pronounced in the area when we used to talk about terrorism and what have you. But for now, we do not talk about them anymore. But it is very important that we continue to talk about them so that people are well informed, they are aware, and know what to do in such cases. So it is all about staying away from objects that you do not know at all. It can come in so many forms. For that one, we cannot say the numbers we can go on and on and on and mention the objects within which these sometimes improvised explosive devices may come.
Okay.
But what we need to do is to be cautious.
From that story, leading teacher unions in Ghana will welcome reopening of schools for the next academic year in September, once facilities are provided to ensure COVID-19 protocols are adhered to by students. The Ghana National Association of Private Schools is proposing that schools are reopened at the beginning of next academic year in September, since the president has eased restrictions in various other sectors. Now, speaking on the AM show, the vice president of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, Dr. Otre Adai-Mensah, advocated a combination of virtual and physical classroom appearances to be introduced to enable all students across the country to go back to their lecture halls.
Whether or not we would reopen would have depended on, one, our understanding and knowledge of the virus, two, the host interactions, three, understanding of the disease it causes, four, the immunity that one gets, whether or not it is fleeting or it is long-lasting or lifelong. Unfortunately for us, there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding the virus, the disease it causes, its pathophysiology, and so on and so forth. So we are put in a situation where the decision we take will largely be dictated to by the data that has accrued both locally and globally. Now, it is important to put certain things in proper perspective. Now, the first point to make is that presently we know for a fact that a large majority of the people who get the infection will be either asymptomatic, or even if they would have some symptoms at all, it would be mild. And we are talking about people in excess of 90% of those who get infected. Again, the truth is that of those who get infected, those who are likely to get severe disease are those in the extreme of age, those who are above 65, for example. Now, if there has been any time in our history as a people when having a low life expectancy has been beneficial or advantageous, quote unquote, it would be now. It is because a careful look at the global picture would show that many of the countries that have had high mortality rates, high infection rates, are people who have a life expectancy of around 80, 83. And I'm talking about countries like Spain, Italy, Britain, the United States, and so on and so forth. Check their population pyramid. You realize that they have large numbers of people in the age brackets of more than 70, 65, more than 65, 70, 80, and so on and so forth. Now, in our part of the world, in Ghana, as I speak, and we have had a total of about 41,000 infections. About 90% or more of the people have either recovered or have been discharged. It means that the risk of them transmitting the infection to others is drastically reduced. Then again, of those who have severe disease or of those who have died, how many of them fall within the age bracket of the students we are talking about, from basic school to senior high school to the universities or the tertiary institutions? I think that the decision to reopen or not to reopen should be guided by these facts that as I have laid bare. I think that we cannot continue to live our lives like this. I think that the time has come for us to have a phased reopening at the least.
Now, these were supported by Isaac J. Hyde, President of the National Union of Ghana Students, and the Ghana National Association of Teachers General Secretary, Thomas Musa.
I speak to you, I think generally across the country, you get a sense that everybody feels that, oh, this is a normal situation, this has come to stay with us, and so we've got to get used to it. Notwithstanding that, we also should be careful not to underestimate the dangers that may come with we overly spreading the disease, because what it means is that we'll end up affecting more of the elderly, And then, of course, you can't also discount the fact that as much as this disease has been said to affect the elderly and people with preconditions, you may also have some students who are in the vulnerable brackets. And so there's a need for us to pay much attention to, upholding the protocols that have been put out there. Our biggest challenge as I speak to you today is the fact that you get to places and you see some of this PPEs and other materials there, which are just there as white elephants. It's not being used for the purpose that it's been used for. Generally, I think students have come to the point where there are mixed feelings. People are not so worried as they used to be. And so if it's about opening schools, I believe that most students are ready for it.
I think we need to put the issues in perspective. We have the known variable and unknown variables. The known variable is that whether we like it or not, school will one day reopen. So that is a known variable. It is like the Bible says that it is appointed unto man once to die. So whether we like it or not, we will one day die. But as to the timing of the death, nobody knows. The same thing applies to this. The known variable is that schools will one day reopen. As to the time, we don't know. And that the variables that are unknown, or the unknown variables, are the key things that we must be examining at this particular time. Now, let me go back to what I talked about, the known variable. The known variable is the opening of the school. Now, schools are open for two main reasons, so that teaching and learning can take place. We open schools so that teaching and learning can take place. And we must all appreciate that teaching and learning can only take place within a secured and safe environment where both the teachers and the students feel that they are safe. And when that happens, the teachers can teach and learning can take place. Because when one of the people involved in the interface gets the impression that he or she is not safe, certainly teaching can go on, learning will not take place. Now that brings me the second variable, how to get the environment secured. And that's what we talk about, the unknown variables. The unknown variables are three. One, before we came to this particular stage, we established that the final year student, that the SHS and then the GHS students, the writing of the exam, we should adopt it like a pilot project and go into it. Depending upon what happens within this, with the pilot project, that will inform us whether to go ahead and open the schools or not. As we speak now, the pilot project, it is not yet done because we have the SHS still pending and we have the JHS yet to write the exam. So the pilot project has not yet been completed.
Now, Director of Communications at the Ministry of Education, Echo Vincent Effah, says GES and other stakeholders are considering various proposals in this vein, but Cabinet will make a final decision on reopening. He was speaking on Prime Morning on Joy Prime TV.
Now, one school of thought is proposing that why don't we allow the junior high school 3 and the senior high school 3, that is the Form 3s in both junior high school and senior high school, to go back to school, to go and prepare, because definitely they would be writing their exams next year. Same way that we did for those who just completed, because definitely there should be some kind of transition, so that the academic year and the financial year will be able to start for those who are in first year and second year. What it means is that the first years and second years may be going to school in January. That is one school of thought. This is not from the Ghana Education Service. I'm just giving proposals that we are having from the stakeholders and, if you like, the other communities who are also interested in Ghana education. There are also others who are saying that we need to live with COVID-19. There should be strategies, there should be plans that can be put in place by the Ghana Education Service so that we can reopen schools. Because definitely we have to live with COVID-19. So the provision of nose masks, provision of sanitizers, provision of verinical buckets and all that could be provided by the government or the Ghana Education Service, so that we can, we could be able to reopen schools en masse.
So what's the decision, and when are we to expect it?
We don't have a decision yet. The Ghana Education Service is in consultation with the Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Education may have to consult Cabinet for Cabinet to give approval as to the proposal that has been given by the Ghana Education Service as a roadmap in reopening schools.
So what's the GES proposal?
We haven't given any proposal yet, because we are still collating the views from stakeholders, and we believe that we don't also have to make any decision that will jeopardize the lives of the students that we are going to put in school. And so we are careful in arriving at the decision, but be that as it may, it is the responsibility of the Ghana Education Service to announce the Ghanaian public as to the final decision that it will be made. And that final decision will have to rest with Cabinet, or if like the presidency.
And that's, you're still live on Joy News today. Coming up in business, minority in Parliament demands government clarifies funding for Consolidated Bank. Daryl next with more.
Hi, good afternoon and welcome to Business. My name is Daryl Kwao. Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu is asking government to come clean on shareholders of Consolidated Bank Ghana. According to the Minority Leader, his request is based on recent commitment of some state funds to the financial institution. Mr. Idrisu raised these concerns at a news conference in Parliament.
The government issued the sovereign bond of 2018. Government again reported, and I'm quoting, that it was dedicating an amount of 450 million Ghana cedis for CBG to finance the sector bailout. So 450 million of state resources used to finance CBG. We demand, who are the owners of CBG? We need to know, because public money is being invested in CBG. More importantly, we are demanding that the 450 million so spent of the bond issuance money, is it equity or a loan? I do not have the answers, and I'm demanding access to that investment of state resources.
Mr. Idrisu is also demanding an audit of the monies paid depositors of the collapsed financial institutions, which President Akuapem says currently stands at 96%. But MPP MP on Parliament's Finance Committee, Anthony Effah, says an audit will not be necessary.
12 billion cedis has been used to pay all the bank customers. 12 billion cedis has been utilized. Now, an additional 5 billion cedis was provided for the microfinance companies and the savings and loans company, the finance houses. And it adds up to about 92% of all the clients under these microfinance houses, microfinance companies, the finance houses, and the savings and loans companies have all been paid. Now, there is an additional 3 billion cedis that was reported in the Midday review by the Minister of Finance about 2 weeks ago. That an additional 3.1 billion cedis has been allocated for the fund management companies. But now, Securities and Exchange Commission says or explains that the process for liquidating these companies to enable payment has to go through the courts. It's not like the microfinance companies or the savings and loans companies. The Bank of Ghana just gave an announcement and then revoked all the licenses. There's a procedure that has to be followed before these companies could be wound up. Now, they're still validating some of the claims, and the Securities and Exchange Commission is on top of this. Right. Now, to request for an audit in the middle of the transaction smacks of, I don't know what to say, but it looks like we are leaving the procedures or the processes that we are familiar with in Parliament.
Now, scientists at the Crop Research Institute are incorporating disease-resistant genes into popular aromatic varieties of rice. Rice yellow mottle virus and rice blast disease are said to be the major causes of crop loss. Researchers say the new method over the next 5 years is part of measures to avoid the impact of outbreaks like COVID-19. There's more in this report.
What we are doing here at the moment is that we are trying to incorporate disease resistance genes into these popular aromatic varieties. The major diseases in Ghana are rice yellow mottle virus and then rice blast diseases, and they can be very devastating.
So what do they do to the plant, the crop?
So for rice yellow mottle, that's why it's called yellow mottle. You see the leaf starts yellowing, yes, and then it becomes stunted, and then when the panicles or the flowers come, it darkens, okay, and then you don't get the spikelets filling. So you see the spikelet there, but it's just chaff.
The conventional method could take scientists up to 10 years to produce high-yielding quality and disease-resistant varieties.
And we are trying to incorporate those disease resistances into the popular aromatic varieties. But this is a painstakingly slow process, okay, because you have to cross the two parents. You grow your seed, and that is called the first filial generation or the F1. Then you have to go through a next stage where you get the second filial, the F2, and then that is where it will segregate, and then you have all sorts of gene combinations from both parents. Okay, so if you select something in the F2, it's not stable yet. You have to grow it for about 6 times before you are able to stabilize it, and then you test it.
Senior researcher and rice breeder Dr. Maxwell Darko Asante says the new varieties are expected to improve production and produce quality.
We've got a full bulletin coming up at the top of the hour on the marketplace. Up next is sports. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Sports here on Joy News Today. My name is Nathaniel Atto. Now let's talk about the Ghana FA presidency and how people aspire to it. Well, if you think heading the position as president of the Ghana FA is the biggest footballing position in the country, well, you have to think twice, because Nanayo Amponsa, the new CEO of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, disagrees. Despite contesting the post in last year's GFA presidential elections, he claims that the Kumasi Asante Kotoko CEO position is the bigger of the two.
Nanayo Amponsa was appointed Chief Executive Officer of Kotoko last week, Friday, as a candidate for the GFA presidential elections last year. There are claims that he took up the role to advertise himself for the FA presidency in the next elections, but he claims occupying the position of Kotoko as its CEO is much bigger than the position of the GFA president.
I see Asante Kotoko, and no disrespect to the Ghana Football Association presidential position that I aspire to occupy. Kotoko for me is the biggest of responsibility. And as I stated in my speech, I've dealt with many clubs. If you go to English, if I ask you who the president of the English FA is, you may not be able to tell me, but you may be able to tell me who the executive chairman of Man United is, who the CEO of Man United is. So I do not take myself, I don't take this responsibility lightly at all. In terms of new development, as I said in my speech, it is the foundation on which we are going to build the superstructure of the nation.
Kotoko has struggled to compete against the best teams in the continent, but for Mr. Amponsa, the Porcupines are in the top 3 teams in Africa and is envisioning leading them to.
Let's talk some boxing now. And former WBO Africa Super Welterweight titleist Patrick Alote wants the Ghana Boxing Authority to officially announce the lifting of a 6-month ban imposed on him earlier this year for assaulting an Asante Kotoko fan at the Accra Stadium. There's more in the following report.
The former World Boxing Organization Africa Super Welterweight titleist was seen in a viral video punching an Asante Kotoko supporter, Michael Siao Ejiman, early this year. He was banned by the Ghana Boxing Authority over what they described as unprofessional. His 6-month ban came to an end this month, and he's calling on the boxing governing body to publicize the lifting of his ban imposed on him.
He will find, maybe within this week, he will find a day and go there to the GB and talk so that they will find a solution to that. Because me, I want them to, I don't know if the president will agree with me, but to me, I would like them to write a letter and put it on social media like they do to ban me, so that every social media member will see, or everyone on social media will see, so that maybe one day if I'm in the ring fighting, it will not cause any problem outside, because some might know that I've been banned and now I'm in the ring. Some might know that the ban has been lifted, and maybe there will be a misunderstanding that will cause another problem. Yeah.
Well, there's more, especially the response of the Ghana Boxing Authority later when I bring you sports today at 2 p.m. Joy News Today continues. Stay right there. My name is Nathaniel Atto, and I have love for sport.
And this is where we end today's bulletin of Joy News Today. My name is Daniel Dazi. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. Up next is the Marketplace. Have a good day.